The unsurpassed, the profound and wondrous Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, accept and maintain it. May we unfold the meaning of the Tathagata's truth. The unsurpassed, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, accept and maintain it. May we unfold the meaning of the Tathagata's truth. The unsurpassed, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rarely met with, even in 100,000 million kalpas. Now we can see and hear it, accept and maintain it. May we unfold the meaning of the Tathagata's truth. We have a full screen view of Ryushin. Here we go. All right. Mm-hmm.
Well, good morning, everyone. I guess it's still morning there. It's still morning here. I hope you all can hear me okay with this mic. So we're talking about joy. And I confess when I was kind of given this assignment to talk about joy, I did what I usually always do and start digging in books to find somebody's, I guess, definition of joy or joy meant or what joy should be and all those kinds of things. And then last week, which I probably should have done this in the first place, I talked to Dokai-san. And he specifically said one thing, you know, we're not doing Dogen and yeah, it made it sound a bit less academic, you know, than what I was trying to pursue and not getting anywhere with. And that kind of made me bounce back to, you know, the last words of the Buddha, in which, you know, the Buddha said, you know, this is about the experience of the practitioner, not about the book. You can't get this from a book. And so I kind of did a 180, and as I guess you should, you know, shine that light back through yourself, rather than trying to find it, you know, in some separate way from this experience. And so, maybe unfortunately for you, I backed up and I started writing. And so I'm going to start this morning by sharing some of my Vogon poetry. And if you get that reference, welcome to my geeky world here. So I started writing, and I got this little blurb that I wrote. Hopefully you'll understand me. I can read my own writing. The tiger coughs on the cliff above. An alligator glides in the shining waters of the river below. My arms are aching, and the wind whips at my cloud-soaked robes. There is never an end to this story. Just the wild, sweet, sour fruit of the moment, grasped, swallowed, gone. And I labeled that joy, and what was in my head that afternoon. This is, I guess, a take on one of my favorite stories from Zen. You know, there's always those stories that capture you in the very beginning, especially in the very beginning when you start practicing and you start reading all this stuff. The tale, the cliffhanger tale of the person hanging from a branch beneath, the cliff. At the top of the cliff, there's a tiger or whatever animal happens to be in the story that in that particular version of the tale. I should have put a bear. My fear is the bear. And below, either, just 1,000 feet below to fall, and some other animal waiting, anticipating that drop. And hanging, just within reach of the person in this precarious position is a fruit, a sweet fruit. And it implies that this person is aware enough, awake enough to notice that fruit, even in that peril, to notice this gift, this possibility right in front of them, I don't know about you, but I'm always in this position. Joy is such a fleeting thing, or we make it such a fleeting thing because it's our delusion, is all wrapped up in fear. The very beginning of the Buddhist teaching is the Four Noble Truths. And all of that, all of our delusion comes out of this fear of death that is always hanging over us, above us, or right at our feet, or this fear of the emptiness of things, this fear of the inevitable change, the inevitable, dissolution of our lives. And so being bound up in the delusion and the fear, the nourishment that's all around us, the joy and the sweetness that's all around us gets ignored. That's delusion. Even in this pandemic time, you know, to be all wrapped up in the fear of illness, the fear of losing someone or our livelihood or just the things we want or the things we're used to. And that's not putting trying to put a spin as if this pandemic situation is a great thing or not as bad as it is. It is what it is. In a sense, it's just something. In a way, this understanding of how delicate, you know, our lives are, how delicate and how easily things, you know, come and go, and how impermanent everything is, has come into our consciousness all at one time, because it affects so many people. The whole world is affected. And so there's no way to ignore it. You know, other pandemics we ignore because it's happening over there. And it's not on the news because, you know, those people are far away and don't seem to affect our lives. But when it's right here in the center of everything that's, you know, that we are, then we, you know, we feel it, we get it. And so the tragedy of that becomes this big, big, big thing. And what joys there are, even in the midst of the pandemic, get covered up with our fear. In this story, the one thing about this story, and every version that I've read anyway, it doesn't have an ending. It doesn't have a conclusion. We know that this person was awake enough to pluck that strawberry and have that taste. We don't know what happens afterwards. We don't know whether they climb up and face the tiger or whether they let go and meet the ground, whatever is below. Or, I don't know, who knows? There's all kinds of possibilities, you know. The possibility of taking flight somehow, of some escape, of some rescue, is all there in this story. But regardless of how it ends, because it doesn't matter how it ends, what matters is that moment of realization, of that tiny moment of joy, of finding that sweet fruit and tasting it and absorbing it. A whole lifetime of joy in that one moment, because that's all this person has. That's all we have. And how precious, and how that moment is not wasted in the fear of what is above or below, of what happened in the past, of some idea of what might happen in the future, on either side that doesn't exist. Just this strawberry. Wild and precarious and unexpected, that can't be planned for. To know that is joy. In my own life, it's always like this for me. And sometimes I beat up on myself for missing those little moments of joy that were right in front of me and I didn't pay attention to or didn't appreciate. Those moments of joy that are just forgotten in the messy wildness and madness of my delusion. I've spent now a good 30 years almost practicing Zen. And even now, I find myself missing those moments of joy. And this is always my practice, I think. I spent a lot of time lately because my situation has changed so much in the last few months, as it has for a lot of people. And just trying to let go of a past that was sometimes, because of my delusion, so fraught with discontent, dis-ease, and trying to construct some future based on nothing, because there's nothing you can base that future on. Not that you can't make plans, but based on what? What do you know is going to be there? How do you fight that alligator you haven't met yet? Yeah. How do you know what's going to happen? Because you don't. And so my practice for me right now is to sit in this now and enjoy this now. Knowing that it's not going to last, but that 1 second, but not wanting to miss it. and not wanting to dismiss it. So I don't know. That little story is kind of what I have today. It's hard, you know, being separated from what you know is or what you have known to be comfort and welcome and caring, as it is, you know, to be away from the Sangha. But this is what it is. It's strange only seeing, you know, those faces on the screen. It's strange knowing that, you know, to be together in the ways that we are used to being together is dangerous for now. It won't be always, but there's, you know, suddenly dangerous. And we don't know how this is going to change us and where it's going to lead. But in this moment, finding this little jewel of, you know, even just being on the Zoom for these few moments, being on Zoom, even though everybody's far away. Is a wild, sweet, unexpected joy. So I don't know. I now have to do 4 talks, so I'm kind of trying to spread it out. So my talks are not going to be very long, and I don't want to spin out on too much of a tangent from my subject, because I can do that too, and save some of it for the rest of the Sesshin. But let me just leave it there before I get in trouble, and you can have some discussion of that. And thank you for putting up with my Bogon poetry. Wordy and overdramatic. But anyway. So if there's anyone who would like to say anything about what I just tried to talk about, or if anyone would like to express joy, express your joy, please do.
Chimyo, this is Dokai. I was kind of struck by your statement that you said you're in a place now where there's just nothing you know what's going to happen and how you... And we've shared a little bit about what your situation is now, and when you said that, I just said, oh, God, I wish I could be in that place where I just knew nothing about what's next. Because there are some things where I know what I have to do next, and some of them aren't really easy, you know, and I got to figure some things out, and at least, you know, that's kind of what it appears. So I kind of do have this place where there's something to attend to, something to do, something to figure out and where to go. And not all of them, I really have a clear idea about, but I have to find it. And so I just wanted to say it's kind of if you want to speak to that, if you have anything, that would be, I'd like to hear. But I kind of had to say for that moment when you just, there's nothing out there that sounded, that doesn't sound like a really bad thing. But anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
Well, honestly, I don't think it is a really bad thing. I think that's kind of where, it's kind of where we are anyway. We all have these responsibilities that we've taken on, and this idea of what it means to fulfill those responsibilities or make those plans. But as the pandemic has shown us, in a minute, all of that can be wiped away. But even also in trying to make those plans and fulfill those responsibilities and so on, we have this idea of what should happen. But there's all kinds of potential as to what could happen. I think that's why that story ends where it ends. It looks like there's no way out. But that's not what that story says to me. There's all kinds of potential endings to that story. But I think, well, anyway, my mind gets locked into the fear, who knows, up or down, whether you go up or down, whether you climb or let go. You haven't met the ground yet. Anything could happen in between there. Pandemics happened in between some of our plans, and all kinds of things are possible. And I think that even in a situation like yours, Dokai-san, and mine too, in a sense, all those possibilities are there, and what's making them seem like so fraught and so certain and so only one way to do it is our mind. So once we let go of that, once I'm able to let go of that, who knows how that's going to end? Who knows what's possible? In my own life, I never thought I'd be sitting here in some robes somewhere, talking to people on a computer, years and years ago. That wasn't a plan. And yet finding these possibilities, these openings, that I just couldn't see from where I was hanging in that particular time of my life, has brought me so much joy, so much freedom that some years ago I might not have known possible. And that's still the situation for all of us. We don't know. And not knowing, yeah, I can see what you mean. Not knowing is a good place, because then anything can happen. Anything can change this. So I don't know. I'm just saying. Thank you.
Anybody on Zoom or in the Zendo have a?
I'll come
a little closer so you can see me.
Okay.
So what I love about that story, and that's a favorite story of mine too, Chimyo-san. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. To me, the strawberry represents joy, which is, I think, what you were saying. And no matter whether the guy climbs up or climbs down, he's eaten the sweet fruit. And perhaps the joy negates the fear. And so if he falls, joy can still abide within him, and if he climbs up, joy can still be there. And so fear schmear, in some way. It's
Yeah.
kind of like the joy. He's tasted the sweet fruit, and joy is there, and it doesn't just disappear in the moment. It's just there, and so in the same way, like last year you were here with us physically, and here you are on the computer screen, and we've had that joyful moment and that joyful coming together last year, and hopefully that hasn't disappeared. And in so many ways, this Zoom world, there are things I've experienced that are totally joyful. I just got through with this 3-week intensive that Tenshin Roshi was leading, and there was over 200 people from all over the world, all different time zones, and we were all coming together to study the Lotus Sutra. And it was amazing. It was just really joyful. And there would have been no possibility of that happening any other way, because in person at Green Gulch, maybe 90 or 100 people can get together, including staff. And so it's like all these people were able to come together and experience that. And it seems to me that no matter what happens, conditions, that we have the ability to have the right attitude after we eat the strawberry. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you. Yeah, this is an opportunity that's opened up for us. And it's funny because Zoom's been around for a while, and Skype and all these other things. And who knew it was going to become so important, especially in the Zen world. It's what we have right now. The other thing that I kind of wrote around this story, when I continue the story, if I feel like I need to somehow continue the story or make some possibility, strawberries grow kind of on vines. There's always more than one strawberry most of the time. And it's like, what if you make a decision to climb up or down and face whatever's up, whatever's down? And there's a whole cliff full of strawberries you can enjoy on the way up, on the way down. And maybe that's what this life is, just kind of trapped on a cliff, but it's the mind that traps you on that cliff. It's the mind that doesn't see the way up or the way down, and what all the gifts that might be on the way up or down. Cliffs sometimes have caves in them that you can shelter in for a minute. And maybe Zoom is one of those caves that we can shelter in and get out of the rain for a minute and rest our arms for a minute. it may not be the best thing or the end, you know, the end of this or where we need to go, but it's a shelter. It's a way of being in this strange position, you know, or in this strange time. So I even though I'm not going to pretend I'm not sick of them, okay, but I do absolutely appreciate it. I do know what a gift it is to have, especially right now. So.
Okay. Who else wants to say something or ask a question? Well, in that case, our Dawn will lead us in the closing chant.
May our intention equally penetrate every being and place with the true merit of Buddha's way. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Illusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to realize it.
I'm not sure that we can do a bow out, but maybe, Chimyo, do you want to just do anything ritual or just say, see you?